Welcome back for another video. Today, we're going to be talking about 2023 fantasy football draft strategy. Who should you be looking to pick up in the early rounds? First round, second round, third round. But then you have to look at middle rounds and late rounds. Who are we trying to pick up? What players are being undervalued? What players are being overvalued? We're going to look at everything going into 2023 fantasy football drafts. It's that time of year. And first of all, when you are looking at the draft for fantasy football, you have to look at opportunity plus talent equals fantasy gold. That is everything. That is fantasy football in a nutshell. It all comes down to opportunity and talent. And with that being said, we're going to look at players that you could take in the first round of your draft. The quarterbacks that you could take in your first round are going to be Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. Outside of those four, I would not touch anybody else in the first round. I am somebody who am generally skeptical of taking quarterbacks in the first round, anyways. If it's a 10-team league, if it's a 12-team league, I would think about it. Depending on how the draft falls, if there's somebody else that takes Josh Allen really early in the first round, I'm going to think about taking Mahomes in the back end of that first round because at that point, if somebody's taking him high in the first round, how soon are the other quarterbacks going to start falling off? I had a draft a couple years ago. Somebody took Mahomes with the second pick in the draft. It's a 10-team league. By the end of the second round, there were 6 quarterbacks drafted, which never happens in my leagues. Even last year, that did not happen last year. It was just that one guy, that one time took Mahomes early, and then Lamar Jackson, Josh, everybody started to fall off, right? So the players in your league will change how things go, which is why I have such a wide range of players that I would take in the first round. But of the quarterbacks that I would think of taking in the first round, I like Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. And then looking at running backs, this is a premium position. These are guys that are almost certainly going in the first round of pretty much every fantasy draft this year. At least in my book, they would be who I'm taking. It's going to be CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs. Now, guys like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, those are guys that if I'm picking late in the first round, those are guys that I'm looking at. I would not take Barkley and Jacobs with an early pick. Those spots in the early, first, if you're looking at the first pick through the sixth pick, depending on how big your league is, first through fifth, first through sixth, I'm looking at either CMC, JT, Austin Eckler, or Bijan Robinson this season. Because again, we're looking at opportunity plus talent. And the opportunity and the talent for those 4 guys are game changing kind of circumstances. And I am willing to bet that one of those guys could help me win my championship in 2023, right? And of wide receivers who are in that same vein, you're looking at Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, and Garrett Wilson. These are all guys, every single one of these guys. It doesn't matter where I'm picking in the first round, I'd feel comfortable picking all of these guys. If I have the first pick in the draft, am I taking Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, or Garrett Wilson? No, I'm not. But if I have anything from the 4th pick and down, depending on how my draft is going, those guys are in play. Okay. Because again, and I'm going to continue to beat this into your heads, opportunity plus talent equals fantasy gold. The opportunity and the talent is there. They have great quarterbacks. Every single one of these guys that I just mentioned has great quarterbacks. The only one that might have a question mark here is going to be Devontae Adams. Having Jimmy Garoppolo, is Jimmy Garoppolo even going to be able to start the season? Assuming he is, it's still Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's still Devontae Adams. The volume here for every single one of these guys is going to be great. They all have really good quarterbacks, and I expect these guys to all help people win a lot of leagues in 2023. And then move on to tight ends. The only tight end that goes in the first round is Travis Kelce. I am somebody who will never take a tight end in the first round. Like, I get it. I understand that tight end is a slim position. I'm just not doing it. I've done random leagues where I'll go in and just do a random draft real quick just to see how things go, or maybe I want to experiment with different draft strategies. Every time I've ever done a draft strategy where I take Travis Kelce in the first round somewhere, whether it's early or late in the first round, it just ends up not being good. The rest of that draft ends up being weird. My lineup for the whole season ends up being kind of a bit of a mess where there's always one spot that I can't lock up, and that one spot kind of costs me every single week because I can't nail it down. So, right. So if I'm going to have a position like that, I want it to be my tight end position because there are so many tight ends that are like that. I'd rather spend that draft capital getting somebody else that I know from week to week is going to be able to put up numbers like a Travis Kelsey, but you can find somebody else along the lines, especially now where you're looking at it in 2023. We have guys like Kyle Pitts, who his opportunity is finally starting to align with the talent. You know, you look at what everything Atlanta's doing. Kyle Pitts is a guy who I think his draft stock could be coming up, especially in dynasty leagues. Guy like Dalton Kincaid coming in, a lot of these young tight ends, Jelani Woods. You know, if Anthony Richardson is any good, maybe Jelani Woods is a guy that we could be talking about. There's so many tight ends that could come up and have large value with where the tight end position is going, where so many of these young quarterbacks coming in are really talented. And these tight ends are so much more versatile, so much more a part of the passing game. I just don't know if 2023 is a time where we're taking tight ends in the first round yet outside of Travis Kelsey, if that's something you would like to do. But again, I'm not doing that, but I understand people that want to take Travis Kelsey because he's basically a receiver, right? He just in fantasy football, he is slotted into a different position, which is where when I do my math, I'm deeply enthralled into fantasy football. When I'm doing all this, I get real nerdy about it. And at the end of the day, taking a tight end in the first round just doesn't make sense for me, even when it's Travis Kelsey. And now that we've gone over all of our players that we're going to be taking in the first round, guys that we're watching for in the first round or even the second, the guys that I mentioned, if they're not there in the first round, they're going in the second for sure. Right. So players you're looking for in the middle to late rounds, we're going third round and after kind of guys, or fourth round and after kind of guys, right? I'm going to start with Jameer Gibbs and Alvin Kamara. These guys are going between the fourth and the sixth round, depending on how drafts go. But between the fourth and the sixth, these are running backs that I think are going to have a lot of volume this year. Jameer Gibbs, the passing volume, how versatile he is. He could line up as receiver, especially in the first 6 games of the season. Jameer Gibbs is going to come out and be one of the hottest trade baits in all of fantasy football with what his passing volume is going to be and as good as he is as a runner. He is an absolute game changer. I think if I have an opportunity to snag him up in the middle to late third round, I'm not letting him get to the fourth or fifth round. I'm not. With the way I know I construct my teams, Jameer Gibbs is getting drafted in the third round. Alvin Kamara is a guy who easily could come out and be what we're used to him being. You know, he could easily be a guy that should have been drafted in the first or second round. He has Derek Carr this year. Derek Carr doesn't mind checking the ball down. I don't see why Alvin Kamara is going between the fourth and the sixth round. Alvin Kamara should be going probably in the second or third. His value at the end of the year will probably be there. Make sure to look out for Alvin Kamara. If you can steal him, go ahead and steal him. You know, an interesting running back on this list is Rachaad White, going in the somewhere between the sixth and seventh round. It's the Bucks running back. He was a rookie last year, going into his second season as a featured back. I think he has a lot of upside in the pass game with Baker Mayfield being there. And what that offense is, I think Rachaad White is being underdrafted, and I think people are going to realize that about halfway through the season. Isaiah Pacheco also being underdrafted. After what we saw from him in the playoffs, I don't know why he's not being drafted more. This is an Andy Reid offense. Like, I expect him to have more of a role than he had last year toward the end of the season. I understand Jerick McKinnon is back and could take passing game work and will take passing game work, but Isaiah Pacheco is going to find the end zone a lot. And I don't think people realize just how good Isaiah Pacheco is. Now we have a couple of receivers coming up. I'm going to run through these ones pretty quickly with Calvin Ridley coming back from his suspension, going between the sixth and the eighth round. Somebody that I think could be going sooner. I think he is in a great position, the opportunity plus the talent. I think Calvin Ridley is going to come back and make a big impact and at least be in the running for comeback player of the year. Obviously, it's probably going to be Damar Hamlin, but Calvin Ridley is going to have an amazing season. Brandon Cooks going to the Cowboys. Right now, his ADP is somewhere between the 8th and the 10th round, depending on how drafts go. I really think he could be a game-changing flex option for people this year, like set it and forget it flex option. George Pickens is in that same vein, also going in the 8th to 10th round. And then somebody that's going later than I expected him to is Jordan Addison. The rookie for the Minnesota Vikings is going between the 10th and the 12th. And honestly, I wouldn't be afraid to get him in the 8th if I absolutely had to. If I was in a position where a lot of really good receivers are being taken, I think the volume for Jordan Addison is going to be really good in his rookie season. I think Dalvin Cook leaving the Vikings thrust Jordan Addison into a position where they're going to need somebody else to be another playmaker. And I think he will be that guy, right? If you stay in the 10 to 12th rounds, you're looking at Samaje P. Ryan, running back, has been with the Bengals, went to the Broncos, with Javonte Williams possibly missing half the season. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. Samaje P. Ryan is going to be in an excellent position to get a lot of work, right? He's been the pass catching back for the Bengals for years. So he can do that. Having Sean Payton come in, we saw what Sean Payton was able to do with Alvin Kamara. Think what Samaje P. Ryan can do. So with him in a featured role, I think it's pretty crazy that he's making it to the 10th to 12th rounds. It's kind of crazy that he's being drafted under Javonte Williams, to be completely honest with you. I think Samaje P. Ryan should be going maybe somewhere in the 6th round if you absolutely needed to. At the latest, 8th, ninth, at the absolute latest if you grabbed a couple of really good running backs early on in the draft. Another really good running back that you could pick up in the same vein, right around where Samaje P. Ryan is being drafted, but it's the 11th to the 13th round where you're going to find Zach Charbonnet in most drafts. This is a guy who is going to be behind Kenneth Walker, which is why his ADP is so low. But Zach Charbonnet is too good not to get on the field. At the very least, he's going to split reps with Kenneth Walker, and I think their stats could be very similar, which is why I think both of those guys could very easily be drafted between the 7th round and the 12th round, 13th round. I could see why both those guys would fall to those places. This is two really talented guys. There's also talented receivers on the team that they're going to want to use. But because there's so many mouths to feed, it's going to be capped. But I think if you're looking at it, not only is he going to be splitting reps and is he really good and could have a could be a decent flex option from week to week. Honestly, could be a good flex option week to week, which is what his ADP reflects. But imagine Kenneth Walker goes down, right? Of course, we don't want to see that. Kenneth Walker's great. We all love Kenneth Walker. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. But if he did, Zach Charbonnet coming into the NFL, one of the better backup running backs. If you have him in fantasy football with his pass catching acumen, he could be a league winner for you if Kenneth Walker has to miss the rest of the season. That's the facts of it. If you're able to get Zach Charbonnet, like you can, of course, you have to be able to sacrifice the draft pick. If you can get him in the 8th round when everybody else is picking him in the 11th or 12th, Kenneth Walker goes down, dude, you might win your championship just because of that pick right there. Right, and then move on. The last couple of guys that I have here going real late. We're going to let tight end out of Tennessee. I'm just going to give him a nickname because I don't know how to say his name. Chiggy O, okay? This guy's going between the 12th and the 14th rounds, but he is a really athletic tight end. And honestly, the Titans don't have a whole lot of playmakers to look at. So this is a guy that week to week could step up for you. If you can get a tight end that could possibly get you 9, 10, 11 points a week and get them in the, 10th, 11th round, pretty good, right? If you can steal him there. Right now, his ADP is going between the 12th and the 14th rounds. Adam Thielen going between the 14th and the 16th. This is a guy who I expect to have a decent bit of volume in an offense that may or may not throw the ball a lot. I really think in Frank Reich's offense, they could end up by the end of the season throwing the ball a lot. As long as he stays healthy, should have a pretty good season, in my opinion. Wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with over 1,000 yards and double-digit touchdowns. And the last guy is going to be Hayden Hurst, going between the 15th and the 17th rounds. I had to add another tight end on here because it's such a slim position. If you can get Hayden Hurst, who is on the Panthers, if you can get Hayden Hurst in the 10th, 11th, 12th round, I don't think that's crazy. I think he's also going to have a good bit of volume. I think he's going to be a good safety valve for a rookie quarterback this season. And looking at other players that are going late in drafts that could be season-changing steals. OBJ for the Ravens could change your season if you're able to get him for a steal. Anthony Richardson, Jameson Williams Won't be with you for the first 6 games of the season, but when he comes back, he could change the whole trajectory of your season. DJ Chark also on the Panthers. We don't know what the Panthers are. That's why I have so many guys here from the Panthers. But DJ Chark could easily do everything that I just said Adam Thielen could do. Dalton Kincaid for the Bills should be an absolute tank. He is basically a receiver. He has pretty good speed. He has athleticism that's crazy for a tight end, and he's huge. Dalton Kincaid is being undervalued, and I don't understand why. He is going to be one of the best tight ends in fantasy football this year. Make sure you're picking him up in your fantasy draft. Now, quickly, some players being overvalued in drafts. Kind of mentioned one of these guys already. That's Kenneth Walker. His value is going to be capped by the fact that he has Zach Charbonnet plus having a plethora of other weapons on offense. I will stay away from Kenneth Walker at all costs this year. There's not one draft that I plan on taking him in. The next guy is going to be Michael Pittman Jr. As a Colts fan, this one kind of hurts, but it's the reality of the situation. His volume probably going to be down because there are more weapons there. Even though, sure, the Colts don't have DeAndre Hopkins out there. I get it. Ha ha ha. They don't have amazing receivers. They brought in a lot of guys. Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce, Isaiah McKenzie. They drafted Josh Downs. Jonathan Taylor's there. Zach Moss is there. Anthony Richardson runs the ball. Michael Pittman Jr., his volume's probably not going to be there. Anthony Richardson struggles with the accuracy. I'll see it when I believe it kind of thing. I'm not just going to assume he's going to be great in the NFL. So when Michael Pittman Jr. being drafted in the 5th round, that's way too high. I will not be taking him there. I wish I could, but the opportunity is just not going to be there for him. The talent's there. Opportunity is not. Travis Etienne is the next guy here. It's because Tank Bigsby is too good not to split reps. Beyond that, the Jags have a great young quarterback with an impressive receiving group to throw to. So Travis Etienne does have passing game upside, and he is supposed to be drafted high. I think he is going to have a really good season. But where he's being drafted, it's being overvalued for me. I just think people are too high on him. I think people aren't high enough on Tank Bigsby. I think he's a really good player. And I think Doug Peterson is going to make him a part of the offense. He is going to be a noticeable part of the offense, which will make some of what Travis Etienne isn't able to do pretty noticeable. Next guy is Javonte Williams. There's no way Javonte Williams should be drafted ahead of Samaje Perine. If you take him ahead of Samaje Perine in your draft, you're doing your draft wrong. He might not be there for half the season. And when he does come back, people that come back from an ACL, dude, it takes them a whole season. Almost everybody that comes back, dude, AP, okay, Adrian Peterson is different. He is literally built different. Not everybody can do that. It almost always takes guys a year to look like themselves again, if they ever do. And I assume Javonte Williams will. He's young. He can come back and be himself, but it won't be this season. And even if he did, you got to assume it's not going to be right away. Samaje Perine is going to be a major part of the offense when Javonte Williams comes back. Sean Payton's not going to change Samaje Perine being a major part of the offense just because he comes back. Sure, he might come back and help win you your league, but he probably won't. So spending a 4th or 5th round pick on Javonte Williams, absolutely crazy. Go ahead and get Samaje Perine instead and try to ride him. If you can get Samaje in this, again, 7th, 8th round, it's pretty good. Javonte Williams probably shouldn't be going before the 9th or 10th. Okay, so that's my draft strategy for this season. If you have any objections or if you like what you hear here, let me know down in the comments and let's talk about it. I could talk about this stuff all day long. Let's talk about it in the comments section. I will continue to have a couple more fantasy football videos coming out. Make sure to come back for those. Don't forget to subscribe and keep coming back for more off-season content, and I'll see you for the next video.